Imagine you are the engineer who spent 3 years of your life on a single project. You slept on construction sites. You solved problems that had never been solved in human history. And then the day it is finally completed, someone walks up to you and says, "It is sinking." 3 years. Billions of dollars. 5 square kilometers of island, slowly disappearing back into the ocean. This was Palm Jumeirah, the most ambitious engineering project on Earth, being swallowed by the sea before any buildings could rise. And engineers had to fix it without the world knowing. Because this was Dubai's dream, and the entire world was watching. In the 1990s, Dubai realized its oil would run out. So they decided to become the world's tourism capital instead. But their coastline was only 70 kilometers long. They needed to create more land and more beaches. The solution was an artificial island in the shape of a palm tree. It would generate 56 kilometers of coastline. Construction required 94 million cubic meters of sand. And not just any sand, marine sand that could bind underwater. Ships dredged sand 24 hours a day from the seabed. At peak, 15 dredgers worked non-stop. Then came the breakwater, built with 5.5 million tons of rock. Each rock was placed and inspected by divers underwater. A single misplaced rock could weaken the entire structure. Then the island started sinking under its own weight. So engineers stopped all construction immediately. They used a method called dynamic compaction. Heavy steel weights were dropped repeatedly onto the island. This forced the sand to compress and stabilize. After months of work, the island finally stopped sinking. But the story did not end when construction stopped. Engineers had to monitor settlement every single day. Even millimeters of movement mattered. They installed sensors across the entire island. Data was transmitted in real time to control centers. Engineers studied wave patterns, tides, and seabed pressure. They discovered the island was settling unevenly in some areas. This created risk of structural imbalance in the future. Additional reinforcement layers were planned beneath key zones. Millions more cubic meters of sand were redistributed. At times, the project looked like it might fail completely. But abandoning it was never an option. Billions had already been invested. Dubai's global reputation was tied to this project. So they pushed forward with corrections and redesigns. Over time, the island stabilized and engineering systems improved. Construction of buildings finally resumed. Luxury hotels rose along the trunk of the palm. Private villas lined the branches facing the sea. The crescent breakwater protected everything from ocean storms. Even hurricanes and strong winds had minimal impact on the structure. Tourists began arriving even before full completion. Satellite images of the palm went viral worldwide. People around the world could not believe it was real. It became one of the most iconic man-made islands in history. Real estate prices skyrocketed as demand increased. Some villas sold for tens of millions of dollars. The Atlantis Hotel became the centerpiece of the island. It cost over $1.5 billion to build. However, engineers still monitor the island today. Small shifts in land continue to be measured. Maintenance dredging is occasionally required to protect the shoreline. The project set new standards in marine engineering. It proved that human engineering could reshape geography itself. Before Palm Jumeirah, no project of this scale had existed. It became a blueprint for future artificial island developments. Palm Jumeirah remains one of humanity's boldest engineering statements. A man-made island built not just on sand, but on vision. And despite the challenges, the island continues to evolve. New developments are still being added over time. It stands as a reminder of what ambition can achieve, but also what happens when nature pushes back. Palm Jumeirah is not just an island. It is a story of engineering against impossible odds. A story that is still being written today, and one that continues to inspire engineers around the world. It shows that even the ocean can be redesigned with enough effort, and that human ambition often goes further than expected. Palm Jumeirah is the result of that ambition. Built from sand, shaped by vision, and held together by engineering. It is one of the most remarkable construction projects ever completed, and it continues to stand against time and tide. Engineers who worked on it often say it changed their lives forever, because few projects ever demand that level of precision, risk, and determination. Palm Jumeirah remains a symbol of what humans can build when limits are ignored, and what happens when they are tested by nature itself. It still stands today, a man-made miracle in the sea, and a story that will never be forgotten, ever. But even after completion, Palm Jumeirah was never truly finished, in the way most construction projects are finished. Unlike buildings on stable land, this island exists in a constantly changing environment. The sea never stops moving, and the seabed beneath it continues to settle over time. That means engineers never really walk away from it. They continue to observe it like a living system. One of the biggest long-term concerns has always been erosion. Even with the massive crescent-shaped breakwater protecting the island, wave energy from storms in the Arabian Gulf still slowly interacts with the structure. Over years, this causes minor shifts in sand distribution along the outer edges. To counter this, maintenance dredging operations are carried out periodically, where sand is redistributed to maintain the shape of the beaches and ensure stability. Another hidden challenge is salinity and groundwater behavior. Because Palm Jumeirah is made entirely of reclaimed sand, the movement of underground salt water becomes unpredictable. Engineers installed drainage and monitoring systems beneath key infrastructure to prevent waterlogging and soil weakening. Without these systems, parts of the island could slowly lose strength over decades. From a structural engineering perspective, every building on the island had to account for slight but continuous settlement. Foundations were designed with extra flexibility margins, allowing structures to adjust subtly over time without cracking. Even roads and utility lines were built with expansion tolerance in mind. Nothing on the island is truly rigid in the traditional sense. Everything is engineered to adapt. Despite these complexities, Palm Jumeirah quickly transformed into one of the most desirable real estate locations in the world. Wealthy buyers from every continent began purchasing properties. The idea of living on a man-made island shaped like a palm tree became a global symbol of luxury and exclusivity. Tourism exploded beyond expectations. Hotels, beaches, marinas, and entertainment complexes turned the island into a self-contained city. Visitors often arrive without realizing the scale of engineering beneath them. Few stand on the shoreline and understand that they are standing on 94 million cubic meters of artificially placed sand, carefully compacted and stabilized through years of precision engineering. The project also changed how the world views coastal engineering. Before Palm Jumeirah, large-scale land reclamation was rare and experimental. After it, entire cities began considering similar approaches. It influenced projects in places like Asia and other parts of the Middle East, where artificial islands and coastal expansions became more ambitious. But Palm Jumeirah also serves as a reminder of engineering limits. Even with billions of dollars, advanced machinery, and global expertise, nature still requires respect. Every gain in land had to be earned through continuous correction, monitoring, and adaptation. Today, engineers often describe Palm Jumeirah not as a finished project, but as an ongoing agreement between human design and natural forces. It stands because systems are constantly maintained, not because it is permanently stable. And perhaps that is the most important lesson of all. Mega projects like this are not victories over nature. They are negotiations with it. Every day, the island continues to settle, shift, and respond to its environment in subtle ways. Yet from above, it still looks perfect. A precise palm tree carved into the sea, visible from space, unchanged in its iconic shape. A symbol of ambition that refused to stay within natural limits. Palm Jumeirah endures not because it was built once, but because it is still being maintained every single day.